the ship is sinking with the Brooklyn Nets, and it's being reported that Kevin Durant might even be leaving again, but I'm going to get to that later on in this video, so stay tuned. As we speak right now, the Brooklyn Nets are 4-6. They are below 500, and they are teetering on being one of the worst teams in the entire NBA. I know they're being overshadowed by how bad the Lakers are, but if the Lakers weren't in the league, the talk of the town would be the Brooklyn Nets and how bad they are. Like, they fell off a cliff, and this is for a number of reasons, and we're gonna jump into those reasons and go over them one by one. Number one is the coaching. As you all have heard, Steve Nash, who was the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, was fired last week. He is slated to be replaced by Ime Ukdoa, who is already a controversial figure because of the scandal and extramarital saga that he went through in September. He got dragged through the mud, and I don't know how players respect a guy like that. I don't know if he were to coach the Brooklyn Nets, if players are willing to follow him. I've heard a lot of people say that he'll never be able to coach again, not because he's a good coach, but because it's going to be hard for players to buy into him after what he's been through. But back to Steve Nash. Steve Nash created a lot of the mess that the Brooklyn Nets are in right now, right? Why? Because Steve Nash was never meant to be the Brooklyn Nets head coach. He should have never been their head coach in the first place. From the beginning, he wasn't fit to lead. He had no coaching experience when he took the head coaching job for the Brooklyn Nets. Not at the collegiate level, high school level, nothing. The only experience, the only thing he had ever since retiring from the NBA was he was a trainer for elite point guards. That's it. He used to be with the Golden State Warriors when Kevin Durant was still there, so they knew each other from there. And he used to train Stephen Curry. He used to be Stephen Curry's trainer. But aside from that, he did no sort of coaching. He wasn't with the coaching staff at Golden State, nothing. So it just never made sense that he got that job. I think he got that job solely off the strength of his name. That's it. And secondly, about Steve Nash, he wasn't ever equipped to deal with the personalities and the talents of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, because those guys are very sporadic, and on top of that, they're very talented. And with talent comes pressure from the media, from the owner, from the GM, to perform to a standard that's set to you. That's a lot for a guy who's never coached before, and he just wasn't equipped to deal with those two guys. And speaking of those two guys, they undermined him from the very beginning. They set the tone earlier on in his coaching tenure when Kyrie Irving went up on a podium and he said that him and Kevin Durant don't need a head coach and that they could coach themselves. That was effectively neutering the coaching staff for the Brooklyn Nets. They had no leadership. Why? Because how are the role players on a team supposed to follow Steve Nash now when the two best players on a team won't even follow him themselves? When the two best players on a team feel like they can do whatever they want, why should I have to follow him when those two guys are doing whatever they want? So from there on, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were doing no favors to him. And the second reason why the Brooklyn Nets ship is sinking is because of their two stars. Their two stars are not meant to be leaders. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were never meant to be leaders. They're very talented. A lot of times we think with talent comes leadership. It just isn't the same. Those two things aren't synonymous. Some leaders aren't very talented, and some talented players aren't good leaders. Kyrie Irving especially is not a good leader. He is flaky all over the place, and he's always being a distraction for whatever team he's on. He tried being a leader in Boston, and that completely fell through. That team was discombobulated until Kyrie Irving left. And like I said, he's always being a distraction to his team, and furthermore, he's always